This is the new Toyota Veloz, which is now a separate model of its own as opposed to being just a variant of the Toyota Avanza. Though despite being a different model, it's still pretty much the Avanza but with a nicer look inside and out. Additionally, the Veloz with its chunky body cladding is now being marketed as a crossover version of the Avanza. And so with that said, is it worth spending extra for the Veloz? And how does it compare to other pseudo-SUVs? In terms of styling, you can see na Toyota went for a rugged look here with the Veloz. Pero rather than just giving the Avanza a tarted-up look, it actually looks quite distinct compared to the Avanza. So in terms of the front end, hindi siya actually shared with the Avanza because it has unique LED headlights, a mesh grille up front, which looks actually much more like the Toyota RAV4 in fact. So you have a chrome detail sa kanyang fog lights, which are in halogen, by the way, sayang because the headlights itself are LEDs. And speaking of the LED headlights, you also have sweeping LED turn signals, which actually look really cool compared to what the other MPV crossover SUVs have. So down the sides, you have 17-inch wheels, which looks really nice. And then here sa side profile niya, it actually gives a more wagon-ish vibe because it's actually quite a low roof car. Though when you step inside later, it's actually quite roomy. But yeah, before we get into the interior, more to the sides of the car, you have a chrome detailing sa kanyang lower window line. And more of that body cladding that again gives that SUV crossover effect on this MPV. So at the back, you have full width LED taillights. Just very in vogue ngayon, sa totoo lang pansin natin, especially with Chinese car brands. Then you also have reflectors down the sides of the taillights, again giving that more distinct look compared to the Toyota Avanza. But more or less, Toyota's done a good job with tarting up the looks of the Veloz and really separating it from the Avanza. So it's now time to take a look inside the Toyota Veloz and you're gonna see even more changes compared to the normal Toyota Avanza. So now that we're here inside the new Toyota Veloz, and the interior is, in terms of how it feels, it's a mixed bag for me. So design-wise, maganda naman siya. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It looks modern, it looks clean and sleek to look at. I particularly like yung kanyang blue ambient lighting sa center console niya tsaka sa front doors. I also like the black and white color scheme of the interior, which sort of gives it a very modern appeal in terms of aesthetics. The reason why I say mixed bag though is, hard plastics are actually expected naman sa segment na ito. Let's be honest, we don't expect naman a car with soft touch plastics here, except na lang if we're talking about cars like the Honda BR-V and the Mitsubishi Xpander, or at least the top-of-the-line versions of those two cars. The Veloz also has a soft touch padded dash part here, no? Pero this is the thing for me with lower-end Toyotas, yung kanyang graining ng plastics, no, yung hard plastics are not that nice, to be honest, and it really feels like a Fisher-Price toy. Though at least there's a bit of design flair naman kahit paano sa interior nitong Toyota Veloz. And then moving to sa kanang center console, you're gonna see na there's this huge acre of piano black plastics. Thankfully, mukhang naman siya yung one of those very easy to scratch na piano black plastics, no? So I'm sort of okay with it. And you also have a wireless charging pad here sa kanang center console, which now I'm pretty sure ang tanong nyo ngayon is where is the cup holders of this car, and they're located on each side of the dashboard, which actually for me is okay. Apart from that, there's also plenty of storage, of course, being an MPV, and the seats and driving position is really great. As a matter of fact, it's one of my favorite in the segment. In terms of driving position, I like the gentle adjustment na kanang tilt and telescopic steering, pati yung kanang seats. By the way, sa Avanza, it's only 4-way adjustable yung seats niya, but here in the Veloz, it's 6-way kasi meron kanang height adjustment. You also have here yung kanang infotainment, which is a 9-inch screen in the case of the V variant ng Veloz. The infotainment's okay. Yun ang sabihin ko, it's okay. It's better, of course, in the previous non-OEM Toyota infotainment systems na sourced from AVT, of course. Pero in terms of the graphics on how they look like, they're okay. Again, they're okay, they're not bad. They're sakto lang for the segment. Kaya ako siya sinabing okay, again, is because of the orientation of the infotainment system, no? So, alam mong this is designed for right-hand drive cars because yung kanyang soft keys are here on the right, and when you also use Apple CarPlay, it's also on the right yung ribbon nung Apple CarPlay. Overall, the interior of the Veloz is nice. Not premium as you would expect the segment, but again, there are more premium vehicles kasi. Yun yung thing. There are vehicles that feel more premium here in the front. So, it's a good time now, I think, to move to the rear seats of the Toyota Veloz. So moving here at the back of the Toyota Veloz, and you're gonna see there's plenty of space. There's a ridiculous amount of space here at the back of the Veloz. Even if I move my seat all the way forward, there's still a good amount of legroom. So, pag talagang forward na forward, you can imagine how good the legroom is gonna be at the third row seats, no? And one of the reasons why this has plenty of room, why this has an insane amount of room, kahit medyo low yung roof niya kung makikita nyo sa labas kanina, is because the Avanza and the Veloz, of course, has migrated to the new DNGA or the Daihatsu New Global Architecture platform, which is a front-wheel drive platform na from Toyota that's catered to cars for developing markets like of course the Vios, the Rays, and of course the Avanza and Veloz. And there's plenty of functionality as well to complement that increased amount of space. So you have a cup holder sa middle, and of course on each door. You also have 2 fast charging USB ports at the back and multiple pockets, by the way. 1, 2, 3 pockets, all partitioned to fit various items for your everyday needs. Also, in terms of the seats themselves, they're kind of flat, pero I mean, it's pretty okay for me. No major complaints naman, apart from the part na medyo flat siya. You also have aircon vents here, of course, as you expect, pero it's just a blower that's getting air from the front. So apart from those features, another thing that the Veloz enables, but even Avanza actually, thanks to its front-wheel drive architecture na ngayon, is what Toyota calls their long sofa mode. And let's not imagine anymore kung anong pwede mong gawin with that rear bed, pero basically, you have that option if you want to do such a thing inside the car. So, now let's move on to the third row seats of the Toyota Veloz. So as for the rear seats of the Toyota Veloz sa kanyang third row, you're gonna see ngayon na mukhang walang legroom, diba? Kasi, well, that's because the seat has been moved all the way back tsaka medyo reclined yung upuan. There's just a huge amount of adjustment kasi to move the seat all the way back or all the way front. So, di man siya dahil pangit yung packaging niya. It's more of the fact that you have just a huge range of adjustment sa kanyang second row seats. Now, if we put this seat na rin, yeah, there's not a lot of legroom again nga sa ganitong position, but if we move it a bit, yung kanyang second row, so as you're gonna see, I still have a good amount of room, no? So, again, it's not a space meant for kids, pero with this second row seats moved forward, this is still taking into account a person that's about as tall as me sitting on the second row. So, yeah, in terms of the amenities here, you have a charging port here, 12-volt socket, and yeah, that's actually pretty much it. So, I think it's a good time to talk about the trunk space ngayon ng Toyota Veloz. And then as for cargo space, the Veloz offers 498 liters with the third row seats folded down, which is a tiny bit less compared to the competition, but still pretty good enough. Yun nga lang, Toyota hasn't provided numbers with all the seats in place, nor with all seats folded down. But visually speaking, the Veloz looks subjectively spacious. Powering the new Toyota Veloz has the same 1.5-liter engine as before, which produces 105 horsepower and 137 Nm of torque. This is then sent to the front wheels via a new dual-mode CVT, which combines the actual CVT along with a single mechanical gear that's used for overtaking or at higher speeds. With all of these technical details out of the way, how does a Toyota Veloz feel like on the open road? So as for the driving experience of this Toyota Veloz, you can expect a lot of improvements, especially coming from the previous rear-wheel drive platform, which felt stiff, roly-poly, and so totoo lang, not exactly that pleasant to drive in the first place. So, moving on to this DNGA platform, which is a derivative of the Toyota New Global Architecture that's meant for cars for developing markets, there's plenty of improvements, especially with regard to chassis structure, sa kanyang rigidity. And the good thing about this is, as we're going through ngayon, not exactly the smoothest roads out there, there's solidity baked into the structure now compared to the previous model. I still do think that the Hyundai Stargazer is still the best in terms of how rigid the structure is. The Veloz is still pretty close. It's really still up there in that respect when it comes to chassis rigidity. In terms of refinement, that's where I was surprised with the new Veloz. The previous Avanza and Veloz, the previous Avanza felt really teeny, like a tin pan. But here, it's more refined, more quiet. And in terms of tire and engine noise, I actually think it's one of the best in its class, apart from the Hyundai Stargazer. Now, speaking of the vibration part, no, in terms of its ride quality, there's a bit of vibrations as a result of the car's firm ride. What I was expecting this car actually to ride nicely, because considering that the platform, the DNGA platform, which is derived nga from the TNGA platform ng Toyota, I was expecting the car would ride really well. Well, for the most part, it is naman. But when it comes to small bumps and corrugations sa kalsada, that's where its weakness is in terms of dealing with. So yeah, the microphone situation got worse at that part of the video, so here's a voiceover instead. What I was trying to say is, while the Veloz has a jittery and firm ride at low speeds, it does significantly improve at higher speeds or at bigger bumps. In addition to that, the DNGA platform feels very solid and stable. And then there's also its dual mode CVT, which combines the CVT and the single mechanical gear that's used for overtaking or at higher speeds. As a result, it avoids the engine droning associated with CVTs. And now back to me actually driving the car. Here in the city or kapag yung mga low speeds, ang sobrang responsive ng CVT niya. I'm not even kidding on how responsive this transmission is, especially at low speeds. It feels very instantaneous yung response ng CVT niya. It's very linear as well yung power delivery niya with this 1.5 liter engine. Basically, this engine's so old at this point na meron lang revisions with dual VVTi and all that stuff. But because of the CVT, it's made the engine a lot better. Because of the CVT, it's made the engine more tractable, more usable, with better torque curve as a result. And again, more responsive, both not just in the city but also on the highway, as you're gonna see later. Then as for other aspects, yun nga, in terms of steering feel, it's not exactly the best in terms of it's actually a bit numb in terms of steering feel. For me, the best part is the Honda BR-V if steering feel is concerned and response. Brake feel is actually pretty good. I like the brake feel of this car. The brakes feel solid and reassuringly great yung kapit ng brakes niya, especially when you're going through corners and stuff. So yeah, in these circumstances, the Toyota Veloz is an excellent, is a well-tuned, well-engineered MPV with hugely improved driving dynamics from the previous generation especially, and is now actually one of the best for me, I think, in the class. The outright benchmark pa rin for me, especially in the comfort aspect, would be the Hyundai Stargazer. But it's close. It's really close. Itong Toyota Veloz. It's probably like one of the second best, kung di man the outright best. So now that I'm out here on the highway, and I'm just gonna show you how good the CVT is of the Toyota Veloz. And just like that, we're already at 100 kph. That's how responsive the CVT is when it comes to downshifts. Like what I said, it's one of the nicest CVTs I've actually experienced in this segment. So for the most part, I'm not a fan of CVTs because of the rubber band feel they provide, no? Like, as you're gonna increase your speed, yung kanyang revs will be at a constant rev lang. So it's like you're accelerating and then hindi tugma yung revs sa sasakyan mo. But in a car like this, in an MPV, a budget MPV, this is a lot better than the 4-speed automatic you would find in the Xpander and the Suzuki Ertiga hybrid. And that's because of the part that you're not constrained with just 4 gears. You're basically constrained lang with how much the ratios are spread over to sa CVT na yon. And again, yun nga, yung the Toyota Veloz and also the Avanza, by the way, because Avanza also uses the same CVT. It's also using that dual mode thing na yun nga, as you overtake kanina, like yung kanina nga, it actually shifted and changed to the actual fixed gear. And as you drive at high speeds, as a result of that, the car feels very eager to overtake, very eager to downshift, very eager to respond to your throttle inputs, a lot more pa compared to the four-speed automatics of the competing MPVs that I just mentioned. And it's one of the things that I guess holding back those two MPVs at this point, like durability and all, pero like in terms of the driving experience, sobrang night and day yung pinagkaiba, yung kinaganda of an MPV with CVT compared to the four-speed automatic, no? Yun nga lang, with Toyota's implementation of this dual mode CVT, you can sometimes feel the gear changes. Like, maliban lang doon sa when it downshifts, like I can actually feel the gear change, no? It can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your perspective on CVTs, kasi for the most part, wala namang shift logic nga ang mga CVT, di ba? But for me, it actually somehow makes the drive more engaging with those gear changes. Likewise, actually, when you're at low speeds pala, by the way, I forgot to mention, ganun din siya. At low speeds, it also has a tendency minsan, especially when you're hard on the throttle, to switch between the actual gear and that CVT. But again, it's something that's noticeable lang. Hindi naman siya complaint. Something that you'll notice, but it's not a complaint by any means. And yun nga, as I mentioned here, about we're at high speeds, ang sobrang stable and refined nitong Veloz. Again, for the class ha, baka isipin nyo it's like a BMW in terms of refinement and solidity and stability. No, di naman. But for the class, it's one of the nicest MPVs out there. Again, Hyundai Stargazer yung benchmark ko for stability and refinement, pero itong Veloz is really keeping up with that car, to be honest. It's really quiet. It's not noisy in terms of tire and wind noise. It's surprisingly refined for a car in this class. And as you go faster and as you also deal with bigger bumps sa mga highways, no, the ride's more settled, mas maganda yung ride niya, mas relaxing, deals with the bigger bumps nga much better. And it's a good time, I think, for me to talk about the car's fuel economy, because of course with that CVT compared to the four-speed automatic of the previous generation model, it of course think na it would improve as well, and actually it really does. So for a week's use of this car, I've actually been doing on average around 13 to 14 kilometers per liter, which is really good actually. One of the most efficient in its class as a result of that. On par, I think, or almost on par with the Hyundai Stargazer. I'm really loving this Veloz a lot more than I expected actually. And again, I'm really comparing it to the Stargazer because for me that's my class benchmark right now in terms of subcompact MPVs, which you can click at the top right hand corner of the screen if you want to see my review of the Hyundai Stargazer. Pricing for the Toyota Veloz starts at 1,210,000 pesos, and that gets the base G variant. But for just 40,000 pesos more, you can already get this top-of-the-line V that we have here. For that 40,000 peso price difference, which will be even easier to deal with if you're doing monthly payments, you already get a bigger 9-inch touchscreen, a 360-degree camera system, and a full suite of Toyota Safety Sense advanced driver assistance features, such as automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, lane keeping assist, automatic high beams, blind spot warning, and rear cross traffic alert. Like the Hyundai Stargazer, it also misses out on adaptive cruise control. But apart from that, the Veloz along with the Hyundai have the most comprehensive suite of advanced driver assistance safety features in its segment. The new Toyota Veloz is hugely improved from its predecessor. And in fact, while it does have a firm low-speed ride, it at least offers one of the best CVTs in its segment, along with a very quiet and stable driving experience at high speeds. So the question is it worth spending more for the Veloz over the Avanza? Well, kung ang habol nyo lang isang driving experience ng Veloz, just save your money and get the 1.5G Avanza instead. But if you want the looks, the advanced safety features, and the more luxurious interior of the Veloz, then it's still very much worth the extra cost. Especially since the Veloz costs a couple 100,000 pesos less than an equivalently spec Mitsubishi Xpander Cross and Honda BRV. Oh, and you might wanna take a look at the Hyundai Stargazer.
which is actually a current class favorite.